In September 1978, Rodney Alcala walked onto the set of the dating game as Bachelor Number 1. He looked harmless, a good-looking guy with a big smile and long flowing hair. Charming, check. Charismatic, definitely. The producers had no clue they were putting an actual predator on stage. At the time, Alcala was already wanted by the police. He had a dark, violent history, but no one on set knew. And most disturbingly, his potential date, Cherry Bradshaw, didn't know. She was excited, ready for a fun, playful game. She had no idea her prize was a man who had already committed heinous crimes. The goal of the game was for contestants to choose one mystery date based solely on their responses without seeing them. Bachelorettes or bachelors would ask a series of playful, often flirtatious questions to 3 hidden contestants. Depending on their answers, winners would then go on dates with their chosen bachelor or bachelorette. As the game started, Cheryl begins asking her questions, but Alcala's answers were strange and sometimes borderline unsettling. When Cheryl asks, "What's your best time?" Alcala leans forward, smirks and responds, "The 9th time." The audience laughs, but Cheryl looks a little uncomfortable.
What's wrong with morning, afternoon?
Well, they're okay, but night time's when it really gets good. Then you're really ready.
Alcala keeps pushing with responses that sound more creepy than charming, and at times he comes off as almost sinister. But despite the weird vibes, Cheryl ends up choosing Rodney Alcala. She wins a date with a serial killer and she doesn't even know it. The crowd applauds and Alcala flashes a big grin, knowing he's now got an all-access pass to Cheryl's world. But here's the twist. After the show, Cheryl had a strange feeling about Alcala. There was something off, something that didn't sit right with her. She turned down the date, she listened to her gut, and it may have saved her life because Rodney Alcala was far from the charmer he pretended to be on stage. Behind that smile was a man responsible for a brutal string of murders. When Alcala was caught in 1979, police were horrified by what they found. He had a chilling collection of photos of his victims, trophies of his crimes, and an almost unfathomable history of violence. He would eventually be convicted of multiple murders, but investigators believe there may have even been more victims. Alcala became known as the dating game killer, a man who shockingly slipped through the cracks and landed a spot on national TV while hiding in plain sight. To this day, his story is one of the darkest in game show history, a reminder of how easy it can be to hide a sinister side behind a smile. It's 1998 in Japan, and a young comedian named Tomoaki Hamatsu, later known as Nasubi, signs up for a reality show on Susumu Denpa Shonen. He thinks he's in for a standard TV gig, maybe some quirky challenges or interviews, but what he's thrown into is nothing short of a psychological experiment. The producers took Nasubi, stripped him of all his clothes, and locked him in a tiny empty apartment. His challenge was to survive solely by entering magazine sweepstakes. Magazine sweepstakes are contests run by magazine publishers where participants enter for a chance to win prizes. Entries usually involve filling out forms, mailing postcards, or responding to ads within the magazine. Now back to the story. Nasubi was given no food, no clothing, nothing but a stack of magazines, pens, and postcards. His goal was to win a total of 1 million yen, around $10,000. But here's the catch, he wasn't allowed to leave until he reached that goal. The room had no beds, no stove, just a small floor cushion. And while he was alone in the room, the show was being broadcast to millions of viewers in real time, with hidden cameras capturing his every move. At one point, 17 million people were watching the live stream. Nasubi didn't even know his struggles were a hit, that people were glued to their screens, watching him starve, celebrate tiny wins, and spiral into despair. As days turned into weeks, Nasubi struggled with hunger and loneliness. Wins were rare, and he was often left with no food for days. When he did win, it was unpredictable. One day he would get a sack of rice, another day a stuffed animal. For the audience, it was entertainment. For him, it was survival. Over the months, Nasubi's mental state got destroyed. With no one to talk to, no distractions, and little food, he was left with just his thoughts and the hope of winning a meal. He would celebrate widely with each small victory. After a grueling year, Nasubi finally reached the 1 million yen goal. He thought his nightmare was over, but instead of freedom, the producers blindfolded him, transported him to Korea, and placed him in another empty apartment, asking him to do it all over again. This time, he was tasked with winning enough to pay for a ticket back to Japan. For the second round, Nasubi's mental state was even more fragile. Once again, he endured days of hunger, waiting for small wins to arrive. Finally, after months of torment, he was released. He survived the experiment, but at a huge personal cost. When Nasubi learned that his isolation had been aired to millions, he was stunned. What he thought was a private, miserable experience had been a top-rated show, with his suffering becoming entertainment. Viewers were shocked too when they realized the true extent of Nasubi's ordeal. The controversy sparked debates about the ethics of reality television, with many questioning if pushing contestants to their breaking point was worth the ratings boost. Nasubi's story stands as a dark example of reality TV going too far. The mental and physical toll he endured in isolation, the constant hunger, and the repeated psychological trauma were hidden behind the fun of a quirky game show. In the 1950s, TV was exploding in popularity, and America was obsessed with quiz shows. These shows were everywhere. 21 was one of the most famous ones. Everyone was hooked on 21. It was the hottest quiz show in America. There's this guy on the show, Charles Van Doren. Van Doren was from a super respected family and worked as a professor at Columbia. He had this smart guy next door vibe, and producers knew he would be a hit, so they fed him the answers and built up his character as a quiz show genius. And let me tell you, people loved him. Van Doren won week after week, taking home thousands of dollars, and America was glued to their screens. He was like the original rock star of quiz shows, but as his fame grew, so did the risk. Some former contestants who didn't get the same treatment started talking. They had seen things backstage, producers giving hints, contestants getting special coaching. It wasn't long before rumors about rigging spread, and eventually, one contestant went to the press blowing the lid off everything. That contestant was Herb Stempel, one of the people Van Doren beat on the show. He claimed producers told him to throw the game, lose to Van Doren, and act devastated. When he spoke out, the whole house of cards started to collapse. Once the story hit the newspapers, it didn't take long for the scandal to blow up. Congress launched an investigation, and suddenly, the TV networks weren't just dealing with bad PR, they were facing the law. It was a massive scandal, with producers, contestants, and network executives being dragged in for questioning. When Van Doren confessed on live television, admitting he's been fed answers, it was like a bomb went off. People were shocked. Fans who had cheered him on every week were left stunned and feeling completely betrayed. The impact of this scandal was huge. Congress passed new laws to make sure this kind of rigging would never happen again. They wanted to make sure that TV was actually fair and that game shows couldn't pull the same trick. Years later, Hollywood would turn the whole thing into a movie called Quiz Show. Reality TV game shows are a lot like psychological experiments. They bring together contestants from different backgrounds, putting them in unfamiliar environments and stripping away basic comforts. But why? It's simple. By taking people out of their comfort zones, producers create pressure cookers of emotions and competition. But they don't just stop there. Casting directors often look for people with strong personalities. those who are likely to clash or to become emotional under stress. And sometimes they target people with known vulnerabilities. This means they are not just looking for contestants, they're looking for characters who will break down, explode, or spiral on screen. At what point does a game stop being entertainment and become exploitation? The truth is, reality TV is anything but real. It's a high-stakes game where contestants are characters and the story is whatever producers decide it should be. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be dropping more videos in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching.